Islam,
Islam, peace and love.
Islam. How are you?
Very Moorish American. How you doing?
Very Moorish American.
Give me
Um,
one, give me 1 second, please. Let me
you know
close this
what?
thing.
I'll give you 2 seconds. How about that?
Thank you.
I hope everyone is having a good day and has done things that they are proud of.
Okay. Oh,
I believe that's 2 seconds.
that was about like 20 seconds.
Well, who's counting? All right, so we have um, myself, Shannon Rise, host of the Shannon Rise Live Show, also owner and founder of Strict Inequality, which is my LLC. I am a manager as well for a billion-dollar company. And I am here with Noble Antoine Bay, who is mentoring me in status correction and being able to move officially as a Moorish American. I thank you for being here. Do you want to tell a little bit more about yourself?
If I can get this camera right. Okay. Um, I am Noble Antoine Bay, Moorish American. I've been proclaimed in the Moorish science maybe about 6 years, and I've been studying for maybe the last 8 years. I have attended international law school at Trinity Law School online, as well. I'm a current student of Morris Academy, Academy of Providence, and also a student of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Um, I have completed a lot of procedures and different things in the legal realm. I have a lot of experience in and out the courtroom dealing with Moorish science and nationality. Um, my expertise is definitely in jurisprudence. That's the science of law, political science. So I'm here to share my experiences as a mentor, because being a mentor is different than a teacher. A teacher reads out of documents and books they may not have researched or believed themselves. But mentor is someone who actually shows you what he's done, good and bad. That way you can learn from his wins and losses, because you experience is the best teacher, but you don't have to actually experience everything to learn from everything. You can learn from other people's experiences. So I'm just here to show my experience and share my experience. Hopefully somebody can learn from this today. Islam.
Islam. Well, we appreciate you and all that you have taken the time to learn and develop because it's such important work. So, yeah. Okay, so the topic today and the step that we are on is name correction. So, just starting off, what is a name?
Okay, just starting off, you want to talk about what is a name? Well, you're getting into a very particular thing in legalese. So a name is something that deals with corporations, estates, and persons. To understand what a name is, you have to look at the term straw man. The term straw man will define what we dealing with, what we call a name. If you go to Black's Law Dictionary, we're looking to what a straw man is. right out of Black's Law Dictionaries when you want to go fourth or fifth edition. I use sixth edition too. Shit.
Yes, I do see.
Sometimes I use sixth edition, but I like the fifth edition best.
We like the
Okay.
Black's Law Dictionary. I definitely need to get one.
Oh
Um,
yeah, get you one. That's a part of the mentorship. Definitely get you one so you can keep up. So you can do your homework.
How are you going to be mentored without a Black's Law Dictionary? I do have the PDF, but I need the physical copy. Sorry.
Indeed. It's okay. You just started. It's okay. I'm gonna let you pass right now. This black law is definitely important. Uh, just I'm gonna let you know why this black law is important too. Um, just off the cover of the Black's Law, if you can see this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it says definitions of the terms and phrases of American and English jurisprudence, ancient and modern. If you see that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This deals with American law, jurisprudence, which is the science of law, ancient and modern. So this is not European terms. This is our Moorish terms, which comes from Moorish Latin, which the basis of all legalese is Moorish Latin. And we are relearning and reawakening our minds to concepts that we actually initiated and instituted. So a straw man or a party is a front or a person who was put up in name only to take part in a deal. So a straw man lives on paper only. It's a name tied to their birth certificate, and it was only to take part of a deal. So a straw man is in the form of a corporation. It's like a shield or a mask you would put on. So that's what a name would be. It would be like a mask or a shield. It's a corporation. It's a court. It's dead. So dealing with that versus having a title. Now, we being people who come from nations with nationalities, we have national titles, free national names. Um, Even back, if you just look at like some so-called Native American tribes, you'll see they really didn't go by names like John or Sam. They really went by like things like Blackfoot or these type of things. These was titles that had significant government meanings. And it has designations of what rank they was, depending on the government. So we have titles as well. We have 5 titles. We have El, Bay, El, Al, Al, Ali, El, Bay, Ali, and Days. So those are 5 titles. And they also tied to government titles. If you look at treaties, these titles are used in all treaties, ancient and modern treaties, dealing with Moors and empires. Uh, Also, you want to look at Senate Resolution 75. Senate Resolution 75 was made in 1933, and it's used as a study guide. It's nothing we use as law, but it's a study guide to show you that L and Bay, even the House of Representatives of U.S. Congress, recognize L and Bay as pretty much the titles of nobility in this land. When you go to the U.S. Constitution, right in the Constitution, it says that they cannot grant any titles of nobility. So United States cannot grant you a title of nobility. So any name you got that's tied to United States or U.S. strips of you on your nobility status, because a foreigner cannot give you a title of nobility because they are foreign to our land. So only thing they can do is give us corpse, and we use corpse with us. So we have the titles of nobility. So when you say a name versus a title ties you back to your allodial title, and that's your estate, and that's your nobility. So that would be the importance of, what is the name?
Got you. Got you. So the L and the Bay and all of that, that comes after your name. How do you choose a name? You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen some of the paperwork where someone had like a more like European name and then they had a different name. So I'm wondering how that works.
So when you're dealing with your name, everybody has a family name and a Christian name. So everybody's first name is a Christian name, and your last name is a family name, which means La Familia, which means servant. So what Noble Drew Ali had us to do is to attach L and Bay, or whatever your title might be, Day, to the back of that name. When you're dealing with L Bay Day, it depends on what actual pretty much landmass you come from. So say if you may came from South America, you may go by a day. Most North Americans go by L and Bays. Ali would be a title that you would get if you was say like a prophet or some type of government leader or someone who was appointed leadership over the people for your great works for the people. They would appoint you the title of Ali. The title Al would be more like of Europeans, because Moors are real Europeans or Africans of that sort. So it all kind of break down to where you come from, where 5 civilized tribes you come from, because they pretty much describe the 5 civilized tribes as well of North America. So they tied to certain tribes as well. So these things are also government titles. So you'll see them in treaties as well, like the Ottoman Empire. If you look at the Ottoman Empire, Sultan of the Ottoman Empire was I believe he was a Dey. So it just ties back to certain lineage as well. I hope that answers the question.
No, I definitely will continue to look into that. But I was just wondering, like, how do you even come up with a name or change your name, you know, and how do you choose it? So I'm glad I asked. And there's other people in the audience who are like, yeah, like, what name do I go by? So yeah, I think that's important. So thank you for going into detail with that. So what is name correction?
Okay, name correction. You want to look at this? You want to look at a term in Black's Law Dictionary. The term is called capitis diminutio maxima. It's a Latin term. Pronounce pardon my pronunciation. But it's capitis diminutio maxima. You spell it CAPITIS DIMINUTIO MAXIMA. And what that deals with is why you need to do a status correction, why you need to do a name correction. So if you go into this term, let me pull it up real fast. It's a Black's Law Dictionary term. So you gotta go right in Black's Law Dictionary. Okay, capitis diminutio maxima. the highest or most comprehensive loss of status. This occurred when a man's condition was changed from one of freedom to one of bondage, when he became a slave. It swept away with all rights of citizenship and all family rights. So when you get that name, an all capital name, that's what it means. It's a capitis diminutio maxima. I cannot pronounce that. Diminutio. That's how you pronounce it. Capitis diminutio maxima. So that's a capital name. That means the loss of your status, the loss of your rights and citizenship, and your family rights, which means your bloodline, your nationality. So the purpose of sometimes you see Moors write their name in all lowercase letters. The purpose of that is because the capital letters describes a corporation, a corp where someone is dead and takes you out of your inheritance. See, when we began language, we wrote capital letters for a certain reason. So, for instance, when you describe a noun, person, place, or thing, you would capitalize the first letter. And then the rest of the letters would be lowercase. That's proper grammar. So what they do is give you instruments with your name in all capital letters. And it's not innocent. So that's a capita, the minutio maxima.
I
And
love how
what
you
they,
keep on trying. Like,
you got to keep saying it and get it, I'm not perfect, but I'm just sharing my experiences. So the capital letters deprives you of your status. So when you get these bills and these things like that, put you right into a debtor status or a loss of nationality or a loss of inheritance status. So you definitely have to correct the name by taking out of that status, putting the L in Bay and taking out of all capital letter status.
got you. Okay. Um, so how do you correct your name?
So how do you correct the name? First of all, you have to know the difference between a name correction versus a name change. Now we could talk about the name change. The name change is a legal statutory procedure where you would go through the court system or some type of authority and get permission to change the name. It's like an AKA. It's an alias being attached to an old entity. And now you're moving, that's this new name that took over for the old entity name. So some Moors do that. I don't do it. I'm not totally against it. You can use that to your advantage, but you don't have to. What we do sometimes is the common law way. So the common law is non-statutory, supreme law way. So when you talk about the common law, you don't have to get anyone's permission. You don't have to go through a court order and these things. So we don't AKA the name or make an alias of the name. We correct it into a title. And when you correct it to a title by putting that government title on there, L, Bay, Day, or Owl on there. And when you put that name on there and you sign all your names and you contract, it's basically how you contract from the future. Because you can put it on an affidavit, but it's more about how do you sign your name every time you're going to sign. So the name correction is really taking the position of an authorized representative of that name and using your title as the supreme title holder of that name and the title holder of all your assets. So it comes with an understanding of what a title is now. Because you got a car title, you got land titles, you got all these titles. So what are we talking about? We're talking about estate rights. We're talking about ownership of things. So when you talk about having a title, you're talking about a reversion of your estate. So that name is a part of your estate because that name is what you call tangible or intangible. It'd be intangible property actually. So part of what we do to correct the name, we definitely do the a name correction affidavit, and we give every entity a notice of that of our correction and our status correction. Because that is the status correction, letting them know that, okay, now I'm no longer surety for this name, which is an estate, which is a corporation. I'm not going to be held surety any longer. I am going to be the creditor and act as authorized representative of this estate. So, how do you correct the name? You create a fiduciary position, a trustee position with the name. And that's part of just the understanding of what these things is. I know I'm probably going into some legalese deep right
No,
now, but
I'm capturing it, and I'm definitely gonna rewatch it. So keep going,
yeah,
please.
so we create a fiduciary position and we become the authorized representatives of that name. Noble Drew Ali instructed us to do all business, all new business in our new free national names and leave all old business in our old names. And let me read something to that effect too by Noble Drew Ali. This is our divine constitution and bylaws for the Morris Science Temple of America, salvation and law unity. The Morris Science Temple of America, the divine constitution and bylaws. I'm gonna read Act 6. Act 6 speaks to the fact of how do you correct the name. Act 6 says, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. And this is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the ancient descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So when you proclaim your nationality is how you correct the name.
And that's how
Um,
you're acknowledged. You have to be acknowledged. You have to proclaim it. You have to acknowledge it, proclaim it, and then you're acknowledged.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Otherwise,
100%.
you're ignorant
And you're not tied to your ancestors. You got to tie yourself to your ancestors. We
and
all become conscious of the power of our ancestors. Well, it's definitely power in them titles. And when you take on those titles, you take on that power of your ancestors as well. So it's spiritual, on a whole nother level, or more in science.
good stuff. Good stuff. What entities do we have to put on notice when we have our name correction?
Okay, that's a good one. Now the entities, we always put on notice when we went through this in the last video a little bit. Um, I give all government officials notices. So that would deal with the U.S. government. First of all, you want to get a Moorish Science Temple of America notice. That's the first notice you should give. Because Act 6 says with us. So give us notice, and then because the Moorish Science Temple is already the Moorish Americans, we already been recognized. It's already been proclaimed and declared. So what you would be doing is giving them notice that you are uh, tied to those ancient Moabites. and those Moorish Americans who are already been declared and proclaimed by the government. So what I did, I give notice to the White House, to the governor of Texas, governor of Illinois where I was born, the mayor, um, the sheriffs, the Supreme Court judge, the federal judge, anybody that might think they had jurisdiction over me in any type of situation, I give them notice in advance.
You're like,
Because,
let me just stop you there.
yeah, like it's a long list. Because the power of the notice is like this. Um, an affidavit stands as truth if it goes unrebutted. So when
First,
you make a name correction affidavit and you give these people notice, they don't rebut it. Guess what? It stands as truth. It stands as law. And they can't come back and say that you didn't give them notice because notice to the agent is notice to the principal. So once you gave the say the police department sheriff notice, you gave the whole police department notice. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So it don't matter if they act like they don't know. They still held to upheld the law, whether they know it or not.
excuse. That works on both. That
Yeah,
works on both fronts. I used to think that that just worked on us. Like, oh, you
yeah,
don't know the law, now you're held liable. But like, oh, you don't know the law, you're held liable.
yeah,
As a government official, like, it is what it is. I love that. And it's so funny because I found that like term a long time ago, and I just loved it. But it's great that you bring it up. So,
indeed.
um, yeah, there was a question. Someone said, "How do you know if you're a descendant?" I'm not sure what that ties to, but yeah, I just wanted to ask it.
Well, a descendant, and how you know you're a descendant of Moabites? Because that's funny. Because of your melanin, your blood, your lineage. We usually trace it through the mother, on the body. We usually trace it through the mother or the father. Um, Particularly anciently, it was done through the matriarch, the mother. So if your mother was a Moabite or a melanated woman of some sort, she was a Moor, then you were definitely a Moor. If your father was a Moor, then you're a Moor. Um, so you just look at your mother and father. If you really want to know if you know what's your lineage, you got to understand that it's only one race. It's the human race. So saying you are Moor or Muslim or Asiatic, saying you indigenous of the original people who are of the human race. Um, it's only one race of people. So, when you think about descending, you be like, okay, what am I descendant of and this and that. Well, you can't separate yourself in tribalism. Those are political jurisdictions. Those are not bloodlines or pedigrees. So, our bloodline and pedigree is of Moorish descent, or what you call African descent. African is synonymous with Moorish. It's the same thing. Because Africa was no landmass. So you talking about a group of people that really inhabit this earth first. If you look in the book of Genesis, and when they talk about Sodom and Gomorrah, I have the Bible scriptures not in front of me, but at the end of the story about Sodom and Gomorrah, it tells you that Moab was the firstborn. And it just sticks out to me that they put that at the end of the story like that. Just to let you know that Moab, we are the firstborn. And then when you get into the story of Genesis of Esau and Jacob, and you will see that Esau was the firstborn who had the birthright. So you being a descendant and saying you are Moabite is saying you have the birthright, which we do. How do you know you a descendant? Another way you can go to House Resolution 0689, where the United States government told you was a descendant. Just in case you was confused about it, they made a resolution to resolve that problem for you. Obama also he signed the rights of indigenous people to say you have the right to a nationality. So you are a descendant of somewhere, and wherever you're a descendant of, they have a nationality. And once you proclaim that nationality, you tie yourself to the family of nations, and you restore your estate. So it's not about okay, where you from particularly. It's just about like finding out your lineage and proclaiming that. Everybody has one.
Great point. Um, can an Ethiopian-born man be a Moor?
Oh, Ethiopian born man. That's a good question. Now let's go to the one-on-one questionnaire by Noble Drew Ali, because he talks particularly about Ethiopians. That's a great question you asked about Ethiopians. We'll go to key. Let's go to key 85 through 90. If you guys got the one-on-one questionnaire of the Moorish Science Temple of America, you can follow along with me. You know where I'm going with this. Okay. We talk about Ethiopians. Key 85. Name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of the Northwest by the European nations in 1774. Okay, the answer is Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian. 86. What is meant by the word Negro? Negro is a name given to the river in West Africa by the Moors because it contains black water. I'm skip down to 89. What does Ethiopian mean? Ethiopia means something divided. Key 90. Can a man be a Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian? No. Ethiopian is a title and one of the first titles given to the landmass we now call Africa. Ethiopia means something divided. It's not a landmass. So before we called it Africa, we just called it Ethiopia, meaning it was divided when the Atlantic Ocean was formed from the great Atlantic earthquake. So can a man be an Ethiopian? No, you are more. Ethiopia is not a nationality as well. And I hope that answers your question. Go to the one-on-one questionnaire and for further study on that.
Got it. Thank you. So a lot of these, nationalities are, well, I guess not nationalities, but these are just names of where people are from based on the colonialization of the people.
Indeed. When you look at the map, you're looking at a political jurisdictions. So people say, like for instance, Philippine. It's no one's a Philippine. That's King Philip came and conquered that land, and now they call themselves Filipinos. But they're not Filipinos. Or the people that call themselves Indians, or the people from India. They not that landmass is not India. That's Hindustania, and they Hindus, and they was named from the Dutch colonists, the Dutch colony, the Dutch masters. They came and named the India Company India, and then on the other side of the earth, they came over here and named the people Indians to cause confusion. And they succeeded at that. So when you talk about the colonies, and people calling themselves these colorful titles, and that's based on what colony they been colonized from. So you even have people say, "Oh, I'm a part of the republic," and not understanding the republic is just a form of government, and it's not the United States colonies. So the United States colonies, people say, "Oh, I'm from Wisconsin. I'm from Texas. I'm from California." But those are colonies. You're not from California. You're not from Texas. You're not from none of those colonies. Those are colonies. This landmass is Morocco or Al Morocco on paper and by jurisdiction. The dominion of the Empire of Morocco is right here. So this, when you say United States, you gotta go to the Declaration of Independence, where they declared themselves to be the United States of America, those colonies. who separated from their motherland, Great Britain, and they filed a grievance because they were subjects and slaves themselves or servants themselves, and they formed this union of these independent colonies called the United States of America. So even us calling ourselves U.S. citizens or part of a state of this and state of that, you still are colonized, or calling yourself a part of a colony. So you have to separate from everything the pale skinned European nations have formed. But and definitely those titles and those it's just about knowing geography, knowing that this is North America and not United States, and not the 50 states of the United States. And they just go from here to Mexico not being Mexico to, Colombia not being Colombia. All those names was named definitely by colonies.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Great explanation. Um, so I had someone reach out to me with some questions that they wanted to ask. So I told them I would ask. And they were actually the person that introduced us, or kind of put you in front of me. So Maya.
All honest to thank you.
Yeah, definitely. We appreciate you. But for those that may want to know what costs and fees are associated with status correction, if they're on a budget, and if it's even possible to do so.
Yeah, indeed. I'm here to help people. So the donation is $500 for the 30-day mentorship, and we can break those down payments. Just reach out to me. We get a down payment down, and then we work out a fee schedule from there.
So, dope. Also, are there any people in the community that are sponsoring any students or anything like that? Or is there anything in the works for that?
Sponsoring students for what, the mentorship,
Yeah.
or not that I know of any sponsors. Hopefully maybe we can make that grow into a different thing. But in the future, what I will be doing seriously is we will be releasing recorded videos at a discount. So you
Okay.
won't have that live one-on-one contact, but you still at a good rated discount. You can review the recorded sessions that we had. So those will still be available at a discount rate. So,
Yeah. Always.
it's a privilege for people, definitely be asking questions and you get a little bit more out of it. But you can still learn a lot from other people's questions. Like I say, you can learn from other people's examples. We will be recording live webinars, so it will be a screen share. And you still can get the documents, and then you can view the screen share and how to fill it out and view the webinar to go with it.
That's good. Yeah, because I know that I'm one of those people, thank God for you, but that just needs to have their hand held and needs to kind of know exactly what to do and being able to ask questions, because sometimes forums look odd and you're not sure what to put and things like that. So it's definitely good that you are providing the mentorship at all. And at that fair price, because I know that there's way more expensive packages out there, but they may not be giving you all that's necessary. So, yeah.
Indeed,
We got
and my,
a lot of paperwork to look over. I was looking over it today, and I was just like, okay, this is dope. I did see like a dollar amount that I kind of wanted to discuss. Um, it says $100 million commercially, supported by the security agreement via Treaty of Peace and Friendship between Morocco. What does that entail?
Okay. What document is that you was looking at too? The
It is the affidavit of status as secured party and creditor.
oh, okay. Okay. Now that would entail um the security agreement called a trust. Okay, the trust or the treaty made between the Majesty of Morocco and the United States government was a security agreement in itself. So we have to get into what a security is and what an agreement is. Uh, just to give you a quick summary to answer your question, though, a security is property or is collateral, some sort. Um, um, the agreement was made was the treaty. So the treaty is the highest contract and security agreement we have. Now, we are beneficiaries to that trust or that treaty because that treaty has the word Moors in it, and it has our certain procedures and things like that that protects us in that treaty. So ever since we signed that treaty, we pretty much um, we pretty much recognize them as a government. So since they colonies been on our land, they've been sharecropping, right? So they owe the nationals a national debt. So the national debt is somewhat in the trillions, I believe, and that's part of your debt, and that's secured through treaty. So um, when you talk about Federal Reserve notes versus the value of gold and silver, um, what you owe, is so much that if you weighed that in or you valued that in Federal Reserve notes, the value of that would be at least 10 million or more. So the thing is, when you get into like filing liens and security agreements and things like that, it's just a certain amount that they insure you for already. Like you already insured through the FDIC. Um, like if you look at certain banks' accounts, they already say, okay, he's insured for 250,000, things like that. So it's the same way with your estate. It's already secured at a certain amount, and you can go up from there depending on how much interest you have in the matter. So a security agreement is like interest that you have in a certain particular debt. And we have the highest interest in the national debt because we are the nationals who are owed that debt. Um, and that's because of the agreements was made by our ancestors with these foreigners. So when we do certain security, like secure party creditor methods, we definitely have to put that value in the lien because when you say you're a secure party creditor, then that means that it's a debt involved. Somebody owes you a debt, and you are secured by a security agreement. So the highest security we have is the treaty. A lot of people write their own security agreements. We do make a security agreement as well, but it's tied to that treaty that our ancestors made. Because when you talk about nationality, you talk about your estate. So you're talking about your land, you're talking about your land rights, your mineral rights, your water rights, your air rights, and it's just like having a copyright. You have rights to anybody using that. So that's where the security agreement and things like that cover. Your rights that and things and interests that you can owe with interest on that. So
So,
like, hold on, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, go
even
ahead.
like the U.S. trading banner, that's like our receipt. That's actually our receipt of the permission we gave them to trade on our land. So
So,
that's like a receipt of our interest right there.
so this permission that we're giving them, what if we decide to take back that? I mean, I know that's like not even on topic, but like, how do you, what if we're like, okay, you can't do this anymore?
Well, the beauty thing about it is our ancestors definitely put provisions in all treaties and things like that. So basically, they had a 50-year mandate. So all treaties only last, or the treaty we made with them lasts only 50 years. So the first treaty was made in 1786. That expired in 1836. Then we signed another treaty with them in 1836. That expired in 86. But before they expired, they went de facto. So they was back subjects, meaning they are subjects of Great Britain. So they're not a sovereign nation. So they are no longer party to the treaty. So they are here by military operation only. They are here by force of guns. They're not here according to the treaty. The treaty has been outdated for them. They are no longer parties because they subject to Great Britain anyway. So when they lost that war in 1812 and signed that treaty again in 1812, they became back subjects of Great Britain. So for order you to be a party to a treaty, you have to be a sovereign nation. The United States are not a sovereign nation. They are subjects of Great Britain. So when you talk about when their time is up, it's been up. Their time has been up. And that was according to Nobility too. He said, we gave these Europeans a 50-year mandate. And he said when they leave, they're going to have to take a lot of water with them because they're going to have to go across that water again back home to their motherland. It's all honest to them, but it's like this. You have in citizenship, you have a title called naturalized citizens. So like that's like if you befriended a European, they would actually be a naturalized citizen. They can be subject to our government. They couldn't have a national status, but they can have privileges as a citizen that will almost be as equal as a national status, if that makes sense. So it's not like we're against Europeans or trying to just kick them out or something like that, but we just have to return everything to the proper status and get what's owed to us, indeed, with interest.
Okay. All right.
Remember, we're about these 5 principles, and that's the first principle is love. We gotta love instead of hate. How much we want to hate these people, we gotta love them too.
No, no, I understand. I'm just glad I asked the question.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it.
I'm like, what you mean? Like, what you mean? All right.
Just breathe, take a deep breath on that.
I'm like, but you're saying this right here. All right, cool. Well, it's good to know. And then I think I'm not sure if I asked this question or not. Hold on one second. Um, she said, "My question is, how do we obtain blood right heir status correctly since there are frauds out there? LOL. And are blood tests necessary to obtain true status correction, or is there a way to bypass that?"
Yes, definitely a way to bypass that because the blood test is the frauds out there. Not to talk radical about anybody organization, but it's been proven that they have been fraud, and that's the truth. DNA Ancestry, 23andMe, and those type of places, they can't test your blood into your ancestors. Like, how would they get your ancestors' blood? So they're not actually testing you to your ancestors. So the way we get around that, we just actually do genealogy records. We go into the genealogy records. I actually just got a book. You can go on Half Price Books. Let me see if it's up here. I went on Half Price Books and I got this for $5.99.
Wow.
Discover who you are. It's a complete guide on how to do a genealogy on your family records, websites to go to. So for $5.99, you can find out your records. Just do the work yourself. You know, it gives you how to interview your parents, your people, where to go to pull up marriage records, death records, birth records, military records, land records. You know, it tells you everything step by step for $5.99. So this is where I started. And it traces, you know, when you look at the census records, you'll see that the title's been changed with our people. So it's not so much of doing blood work, it's more understanding how your title's been changed. From being now you black, first you was colored, then you was Indian, before that you was Moors. So when you look up the records, you're gonna see how you changed from Moors to Indians, and then from Indians to colored, colored to black, a Negro, and all this other titles, African American. Keep coming up with new titles for us every 20 years now, you know. So you just have to trace your records back, and you will see the truth and unveil the lies yourself. Because the slave trade story is another thing you want to unveil. I actually was looking at a book. 'Cause I got so many books right here, right? So hold on, let me show you this book right here. It's a couple of them you want to get. You want to get this one, White Slavery in the Barbary States. That's about Charles Sumner, and that was written in 1853. So this before the Civil War, where they wrote about their own slavery.
Hmm.
So this is a classic you want to get. And I got another one called White Chattel, White Slavery. Let me get it. Hold on, give me 1 second. I can get it right fast. Hold on.
Fine.
And here we go, right here. This is a good one. This is a classic called White Cargo, The Forgotten History of Britain's White Slaves in America.
So is that like indentured servitude?
Indeed. And
Yeah.
it was real deep. Yep.
Yeah, I learned that um, you know, people came over here to have more opportunity and things like that. But there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of people that were kind of like, they would dress up and they'd be like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. Um, it's just so much opportunity over here, but they would get like a percentage or something or a fee for bringing people over. And then you couldn't negotiate how long or how much you owed for the trip over
Mm-hmm.
until you got off the ship. So people would be like in terrible circumstances, like they took them like far distances just to tire them out and be like, okay, it's fine, okay, I will do anything to get off this ship and I'll pay in my own labor. anything to get off the ship. And then
Mm-hmm.
they weren't treated like property. They were treated like, I only have so much time to use you.
Right, right.
So they had a disdain for the I guess Moorish slaves, because they were treated like property. Like, I own you, and I want you to last as long as possible.
Yep.
So there was a totally different like feeling between the two parties, but they were operating around the same time.
Do you have a copy of the Declaration of Independence?
I don't.
Okay. Let me see if I can find that, because that proves that they were slaves. Because when you look at the Declaration of Independence, for you to declare independence means you was a slave or servant or under someone's bondage. And then you had to declare yourself not a part of that. So if you want to really prove who was the slaves in history in North America during the 1700s, 1800s, just go to that document. And you will see that these people call themselves United States were colonies, and they were slaves, subjects to Great Britain. And then when they signed the Declaration of Independence, that was their death warrant. You know, it was a death warrant for them, because they back was against the wall. If you read that document, you will see that they had so many grievances that they was filing against their mother country because of the oppression they was under. They was under severe oppression. So it was impossible for them to slave us and be slaves at the same time. You know, when they was under severe oppression, they had no money, they was starving, they had no backing from their mother country. They was paying taxes without no representation. They was getting convicted of crimes they had no vote on, no say so on the legislation. They was just getting done wrong, So we helped them establish government. You look into the Lenape Indians, who are Moors. We signed treaties with them and helped them establish body politics and gain a sovereignty and independence from Great Britain. But it was short-lived. It only happened until 1812. And after 1812, they was right back subject again. So by the time you get to George Washington, the ninth president, you will see that when he became the ninth president, he wasn't elected. He was selected. And that was the beginning of the de facto system, when they stopped having elections and they started selecting presidents, you know. And even in the Civil War, people don't know it was two separate presidents. It wasn't just one president. You had a president of the Confederate States and you had Abraham Lincoln, president of the United States, you know. So it's just a lot of things was going on because the president of the Confederate States was a slave himself, you know. Even Andrew Jackson was a slave himself. He was a slave, so, and he was the president. So, it's evident in their own admission. You just read their own story and you see the true story of servitude and slavery and how it really took place in North America. And then another thing, Shay's Rebellion, Chay, Shay's Rebellion, proves that they were slaves as well because they rebelled against the plantations here. It was a 1 year, what they call rebellion, but it really was a war. Where we fought with the pale skinned nations against the plantation owners here. And we was fighting against our own people as well, because if you look at servitude, our people, melanated people, were plantation owners as well. So, the slave trade story was all a lie. So it's not about really proving who you are, it's discovering the lies that was told to you. And then you will see who you are because it all be revealed to you.
Well, I think that's a great place to put a pin in it for this week, and I'll definitely be doing more and more studying and research, and just on
Get to that
Sunday.
Black Law Dictionary.
On Sunday, yes, I'll get it. On Sunday, I'll be in LA, so I'll be
Ooh.
able to proclaim my nationality.
Oh,
Um,
good. It's long. I'm gonna let them know you coming.
yes. Um, so I'll do that. Um, so that can be done. Um, and I'm excited for that. But yeah, so we'll meet again next week, and we'll discuss the next step of status correction, and we'll get some things in place. And we
Yeah,
have we
getting them
have a meeting on
passports and
Friday.
nationality cards.
What?
I said getting them passports and nationality cards
Yes, yes. Um, and we have a meeting on Friday.
this Friday. Uh, I wasn't planning on it this Friday because of the to-do list. We knocking out things, so we might just bypass this Friday and catch up next Friday.
I think you did say that, but okay.
Yeah, I was gonna announce it today, whether we was gonna have a meeting Friday or not, but I think we because I did some research on the office space here in Houston, and we have to do some more further research to obtain that.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure when we do start having these meetings, we having them in person as well.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I will definitely do my best to, I guess they're all mandatory, so. Uh,
Got to make your government meetings. That's act
yes.
that's act 7.
What did you say?
That's act 7 in your constitution.
I see. Well, we'll definitely have a discussion about that. But I enjoyed talking to you about this. I hope everybody else enjoyed what we discussed and got something of value from it. And just kind of it's one step closer to understanding what they need to do to get in the correct status and operate as, exactly who they are. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this has been Shannon's Status Gets Corrected with Noble Antoine Bay for Status Correction Mondays. We will be back next week. And I'm excited to definitely talk about our next topic, so stay tuned. And yeah, make sure you are taking care of each other, loving each other, being kind to each other. It's free and it's so necessary. Until next time, take care and be aware.